Coming to Grace and St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, Sunday, May 7th at 3 o'clock, part of their Taylor Memorial Concert Series, presenting the Grace and St. Stephen's Compline Choir, also the Parish House Baroque Music Ensemble, the program Masterpieces of the Renaissance and Baroque. And from Parish House Baroque, I have Pam Chadden and Elisa Wicks. Thanks for coming out.
Hi, Keith. Thanks for having us.
You have Claudio Monteverdi, Heinrich Schütz, Philip Erlebach, and Gregorio Allegri's Miserere. And where do we start?
Well, I think that to start with, this is a very exciting project for us to get to collaborate with the Compline Choir from Grace and St. Stephen's. And if you've been to any of their Compline services, they're beautiful and very much transports you into another world, sort of a lost realm, if you will. Okay. So this is a really wonderful opportunity to be able to collaborate with them.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Very transcendent music in their services that they do. So this is an opportunity for them to be showcased in a concert and to showcase some of the music from that period.
Have you performed with them before? Is it
We
something
have
brand
not.
new?
They typically perform a cappella, and so this is a little bit of a departure. They will be doing a piece by Allegri, the famous Miserere, which is one of those pieces that is just so hauntingly beautiful, and they will be doing that a cappella. And the rest of the program will have instruments with it, so it's a little bit of both.
Claudio Monteverdi? Let's talk about that piece of music.
So Monteverdi, one of the greatest Italian Renaissance composers ever, and this is a really... It's an amazing piece. It's one of his most famous pieces, composed around 1630, the Beatus Ver, and it's for 8 voices and 2 soprano instruments and the continuo. So fantastic piece.
Monteverdi was really the composer that, in a way, sort of propelled music from the Renaissance period into the Baroque period. He was the first to use like a continuo section with voices. He was really the first composer to make use of opera. He even had some humor in his opera, which was very unusual.
So he kind of broke the serious facade of...
this is it's very dramatic, more dramatic music.
Okay.
And so this Beatus Ver is actually a rather lighthearted and beautiful piece. It's one of those tunes that I can walk around the house humming, so it's very engaging and feels very, sort of like sparkles in the sunshine.
Springtime.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
It's a motet. It's a setting of Psalm 112.
But a really special piece.
Very special.
It's a nice contrast then to pieces like the O du Allerschönster, du liebster Herr Jesu by Schütz that we'll be performing, which is a little bit of a heavier and darker piece, but also incredibly beautiful. And you think about it, Schütz was really the most important German composer prior to Johann Sebastian Bach.
1646 is the date they have that probably dated, as opposed to the 1630 for the Monteverdi. And then the Magnificat, the Buxtehude, is actually, it's been attributed to Buxtehude, but it's not 100% that it's actually his. And I think they're actually at a point now, the research, that it's actually not his piece. Yeah. But most people who know the piece and know this Magnificat consider it Buxtehude.
Philip Erlebach? As you say, early Bach?
Early Bach.
That's right.
We're talking about before Bach, early Bach.
That's right.
And he was before Bach.
Philip Heinrich Erlebach, 1657 to 1714. And he was a really interesting composer. He was very, very influential in Germany and Austria, wrote a tremendous amount of repertoire, and then the vast majority of it was lost in a church fire. There's something like, 70 pieces that were saved?
70 pieces out of 1,000. He's considered the composer who was lost to fire. So have you seen him written about online, the composer lost to fire? And so out of 1,000 works that they think were in, and I can't remember what building it was that burned, but they were only able to salvage 70 of them.
And so we're playing a beautiful chaconne by him. And then the other piece on the program is the Sonata Corta by Johann Heinrich Schmelzer. And Schmelzer is one of my favorite composers because he really propelled violin playing forward. He was one of the premier violinists in Europe during the early and mid-Baroque period, and he really raised the level of violin playing. his sonatas that this is taken from were one of the very first sets of sonatas composed for violin. This particular one is on a ground bass, sort of like Pachelbel's Canon or something. But as it unfolds, it's just one of those pieces that is so beautiful that you just sort of sit there mesmerized. And then to perform it is very, very difficult because you know that your audience is like, they're sort of hanging on your every note because it's so beautiful. And then it gets more and more elaborate and more difficult as it goes till at the end you're just sort of going nuts. But it has this wonderful finish, and it's just such a satisfying, beautiful piece. And this is a special one for our program as well because Pam will be playing the viola da gamba.
On this end,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. We've been, putting that more and more into the programs. And the tone of the gamba really works so well with Jennifer Carpenter's recorders, and she's playing with us now a lot more. And with the Baroque violin, we really that texture really resonates.
We'll also be able to use the organ quite a bit for this program, which is very special. We'll have both the harpsichord and the organ. And then, of course, with Jennifer, every time I turn around, she's pulling out a different recorder.
I know. How many does she have? I love my favorite is her bass recorder, but
yes, she has recorders that I think are like twice as tall as I am. But this program, she's using soprano and alto and tenor recorders, and they're just beautiful. And I think for most people, when you think of recorder, you kind of think of elementary music class.
Yep.
Yeah.
The one I bought at Toys R Us back in the 90s just to play with. But I didn't know there were so many different kinds of recorders.
Yeah, and they're beautiful. They're very elaborate. They're handmade. And when she plays it, it's like the music talks through her. It's just really exquisite and really something to hear, and definitely trumps any sort of recorder you've heard before.
Eric will be playing the organ?
Yes.
Okay.
Eric Wicks will be playing organ and harpsichord.
Now, Pam, you're playing the viola da gamba. What's the difference between that and just your plain Jane viola, if you want to put it that way?
Well, this is the viol family, which is different than the violin family. Okay. So, though it is a stringed instrument, there are different viols. There's a treble viol, there's a bass viol, there's so there's different sizes of viols.
Okay, yeah.
Typically they have 6 to 7 strings. This one has a 6-string bass viol that I'll be playing. It's fretted, so more like a guitar.
All right.
And though they resemble the cellos, so that the actual shape, more flat rather than curved backs, and sloped rather than rounded shoulders. C holes instead of F holes. The strings, string lengths are different, so those sort of differences.
What's the sound, the difference in the sound?
Oh, the sound. The sound is, it's a dream. It's they say that cello is like a human voice, but no, this is the human voice.
All right.
It's very plaintive.
Very
all right.
Haunting,
all right.
Beautiful sound.
So you'll be playing that at this concert?
I will be. We've been pulling it in more and more the last couple of programs, and I think these two pieces really will showcase the sound and the textures with the recorder and the Baroque violin.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a trip back in time.
Definitely a trip back in time.
And it's such an exquisite program. I'm so looking forward to being able to share this with the Colorado Springs audiences. It's really very different from your typical Sunday afternoon concert.
This the early music loving audience in this area is really growing. People really interested in the historically informed performance of performing as it was intended back in the time. This is a free concert.
Yes.
You can't go wrong.
Free and open to the public. You'll accept a goodwill offering. And yes, I always like that. Hearing music as it was originally, as it would have been heard back in the day on the original instruments.
Yeah, it's as close as we can get.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no recordings or anything like that to go off of. So I know for each of us, we spend hours poring over historic materials, reading about composers, reading about the affects and the passions and the influences in the Baroque culture and in the music and the arts and in the period, and then trying to capture that within the music. And of course, there's no way of knowing if we're 100% accurate. But when you listen to it, and we find it compelling as musicians, and then we're told time and time again from the audience how they find it so compelling and they just want more and more of it, then you sort of feel like, well, we must be on to something.
You think of a tort bow, and that's the bow that you would use on a modern string instrument. That bow is designed for sustain. And so it's designed to play Shostakovich. It's designed to play Prokofiev. It's designed to play Brahms. It's designed because you need to be able to sustain that. So these instruments are designed to play the music from that period. And I think that what makes it special. And as a musician, because Elise and I both play modern instruments, certainly we both play Bach and things on our modern instruments, but when you can play it on these instruments, there's something magical.
It just feels very organic.
Yes, as it was intended.
Okay. What's your website? parishhousebaroque.org?
parishhousebaroque.org.
Okay. And
always up to date.
Grace and St. Stephen's Episcopal Church, gssepiscopal.org. But your website has the information on this concert coming up. I've been speaking to Pam Chadden and Elisa Wicks of Parish House Baroque, and the event coming up Sunday, May 7th at 3 o'clock, part of the Taylor Memorial Concert Series. Grace and St. Stephen's Compline Choir and the Parish House Baroque, masterpieces of the Renaissance and Baroque. Thank you both for talking to me.
Thanks,
Thank
Keith.
you so much.